Wisconsin and Minnesota residents are weighing in as we speak on the CapX 2020 power line project.
It's the first day of public hearings for the project, which would build about 150 miles of high-voltage power lines from Minnesota to Wisconsin, crossing the river at Alma, running through La Crosse, and ending at a substation in Holmen.
News 8's Jenna Traum is here now with more on the impact of the project. Jenna?
Mike and Lisa, these meetings are the last chance for residents to have their say. Many communities have already held informational meetings of their own, but today's hearings in Alma and tomorrow's in Centerville are different from previous meetings because the decision makers are there to listen. Grace Homan is here in Alma for one reason, to protect a piece of property that's been in her family since 1854. One of the proposed routes for CapX 2020 would run along Highway 88, which Homan says would ruin her property and her neighbors.
It doesn't have a lot of development other than agricultural and trout streams. It's very natural and unspoiled. And this literally will tear up land that has never been torn up before.
And at this public hearing in Alma, what Homan has to say will go on the official record. That's because for the first time, the meeting is hosted by the Public Service Commission, which will decide whether the project will happen and what route the power lines will take if it does. And the chief legal counsel for the commission says the ultimate decision will be a balancing act.
If they determine there is a need for the line, then the commission will decide where the line should be. And that's probably the toughest part of these decisions, is deciding where to site the line. They have to review a number of factors, aesthetics, environmental, landowner impact, and the like.
But even though the proposed power lines would cross the Mississippi through Alma, very few Alma residents are likely to be directly affected. The mayor says only 3 or 4 houses would likely be impacted if the project is approved. But that didn't stop the city from making its opinion known to the Public Service Commission, too.
Our thought was, instead of outright opposing it, that we'd be better off to write the PSC a letter stating, hey, could you please not choose the route that goes right through a brand new subdivision? Brand new subdivision that's got 1 house in it, a bunch of lots are sold. It would just kill the subdivision if they went straight through it.
Smith says if the commission does decide to give CapX 2020 the green light, picking the route is unlikely to make everyone happy.
I don't think anyone necessarily wants transmission in their backyard, and so there is that balancing to do.
Supporters of CapX 2020 say the new power lines will be needed to meet rising future energy demands. Now, opponents say there's plenty of energy, and the power poles would harm habitat and scenic views along the Mississippi River. The commission will decide by June 4th whether the project will happen, and if it does happen, what route the power lines will take.
Thank you, Jenna. If you want to go to one of the public hearings, you have 2 more chances. There will be 2 hearings tomorrow at the Centerville Community Center at 1 and 6 o'clock.